What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, and this is your home of the 2020 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. We got some new content for you today, and this is going to be a weekly segment that we do. It's going to be sort of a weekend series preview, but with a specific angle of talking about some gambling lines and that type of thing. I don't know if you've heard, Dodger fans, but the Dodgers go play a team down in San Diego tonight, so it should be a fun weekend. Now, as we get into this, I know not everybody is a gambler. I think regardless, you're going to enjoy this segment each week. It's going to talk a lot about previewing the weekend with some stats and trends to keep an eye on. And so in order to help with that, I've brought in a friend of mine, Rob Morse. He hangs out in the gambling world a tad more than I do. Also a big baseball fan, spent a decade on staff with teams in AAA, the Arizona Fall League, and then with both the Rangers and the Yankees. He's out of baseball now, though, so he's allowed to talk about this kind of thing. Rob, it's awesome having you. I think it's going to be fun, and I'll start with the basics. For people who may be joining us who have not bet on baseball before, what do they need to know? It's different than football, soccer, basketball, which are far more popular gambling sports. So what are kind of the key differences with baseball and things for folks to know?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here. So basically, at its very basic, betting on baseball is about betting on who's going to win the game. You're betting at what's called the money line, which will usually be displayed as the favorite with a minus before its number and the underdog with a plus before its number. You can think of this as how much you need to risk to win $100 if you're betting on the favorite, or how much a $100 bet will return if you bet on the underdog. So, for example, tonight's Dodgers-Padres game is about minus 155 on the Dodgers side. So if you wanted to bet the Dodgers, you'd have to risk $155 to win 100. Of course, they'll use that same ratio if you want to bet smaller or larger. And the Padres money line is going to be about plus 135, meaning if you risk $100 on the Padres, you'll win 135 if they win. You'll notice that those numbers are not exactly inverse of each other. This is called the juice. This is how sports books make a lot of their money, is by taking one bet on each side. If they take an equal size bet on each side, they still win. They still will earn a little bit of money. For those of you who are more familiar with betting on football or basketball, and you're accustomed to seeing, point spreads with minus 110 on each side, that's a little less common in baseball. It's called the run line, and it's kind of fixed at 1.5 runs. So what they'll do is they'll change the odds on either side based on the quality of the two teams. Then, of course, we have the total or the over-under. And in baseball, for 9-inning games, that generally ranges between about 7 if you're talking about two stud pitchers, or it might go as high as 10.5 or 11 or even 11.5 if you're talking the Dodgers at Coors Field, as we saw last week. So it's how many runs are going to be scored in the game. Of course, with the extra innings, not to go too far down this path, but with the extra inning rule this year. And last year, you'll see a lot of extra inning games ruin some under bets. Teams rally to tie the score at 3, and then there's another 5 runs in the 10th inning. And then, of course, a little bit into team totals. You're basically betting, will this team score over or under 4.5 runs in the game? So that's a little bit more juice usually, since it's considered somewhat of a prop bet. So they're going to tack on a little bit of tax for that one. But yeah, those are some of the basics with sports betting, especially with baseball.
Love it. Well, let's dive into this weekend series, the Dodgers versus the Padres. As we record, one thing we'll note, we're going to preview the whole series. Friday night's game is the only one we have lines for. So beyond Friday night, we'll kind of talk in more speculative terms. But tonight we've got Walker Buehler versus Ryan Weathers. Weathers, you might remember, made his major league debut against the Dodgers in the NLDS last season. Did just get 4 outs, but he's all grown up. He's a 21-year-old boy now. This will be his first start this season. He made 3 relief appearances thus far. And so here are the numbers you could see on the screen tonight. The Dodgers are plus 10 if you want to pick them to win, basically by 2 or more runs. They're minus 155 on the money line, and the total is over 8. So, Rob, as you look at those 3 numbers to start with, is there anything there that you like?
Yeah. So I look at the money line first. I see, Dodgers minus 155, and I'm just thinking the Padres could be flat coming home late last night from their series in Pittsburgh, which didn't go very well for them. And as you mentioned, Ryan Weathers making his first major league start. He's been a reliever over the first couple weeks of the season. So I think we're going to see a bullpen game from the Padres. That kind of points me in the direction of the under. Relievers typically throw a little bit harder. You'll see around baseball, bullpen ERAs are typically better than starter ERAs on a macro sense. Weathers isn't really stretched out. His season high in pitches is only
Got it.
38, so he probably gets to 45 or 50, assuming he's pitching well tonight. Um, Probably only going to go 2 or 3 innings. I know how the Dodgers can work
Yeah.
counts, so 45, 50 is probably not getting him even into the third inning potentially. But I'm interested to see what they'll do. The Padres' top three relievers haven't thrown much in the past couple days. There's actually an excellent tool on Fangraphs on their roster resources section called the Closer Depth Chart, which will show you the pitch counts of the top relievers for each team over the past week, and so you can kind of get a sense for bullpen usage, and that's an important factor for handicapping. I mean, the starting pitcher, and they'll place their bet strictly on that. But if you really want to gain every edge you can against the sports books, it's important to factor in what bullpen pieces might be down that day
Yeah.
or who's well rested. Um, so yeah, um, I think this line seems a little bit light on the Dodgers actually. I know that they used their top four bullpen arms on Thursday night in that comeback win. Um,
Wednesday night. Wednesday night. The Dodgers
oh,
are actually fully rested at the back end of their bullpen as
okay,
well. Last night they went with Dennis Santana and David Price, which was a confusing move to me. But as you pull out the
right.
game and then you come to this, Knable didn't pitch last night, Trinan didn't pitch last night, and Jansen didn't pitch. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one for me. So it sounds like you're leaning. You like if you were going to bet on the money line, you like the Dodgers and you like the under.
I do. I like both those sides. Sorry, I hadn't refreshed the page. Yeah, I also think the Padres might be a little bit overvalued. As
Yeah.
we're all aware, Tatis is planning to come back off the IL tonight. I think that's going to overvalue the Padres a little bit. I tend to not assume full health for a player in his first game off the
Yeah.
injured list, especially with a significant injury like that shoulder. I mean, that looked pretty nasty at the time. I'm kind of surprised he came back so quickly. And then again, I hesitate to factor motivation into baseball handicapping. It's not like basketball or football where a more motivated team is gonna play harder. In baseball, it doesn't really work like that. I think the Dodgers will want to get an early start in quieting the hype from down the five.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Dodgers, like I'm with you. The Dodger money line jumps out to me. The Dodgers reshuffled their rotation to get their three best starters pitching against the Padres this weekend. So whether you want to read too much into that or not, it's hard to say the Dodgers aren't interested in this series. I think they hear the voices. To me, I just look at I'm getting Walker Buehler versus Ryan Weathers, and I'm getting minus 155 with the Dodgers. That to me just jumps out at me. Again, Knable, Jansen, Trinan, Vic Gonzalez, all rested for the Dodgers. I think Mookie and Seager both took last night off, so they'll be back in the lineup today. It's expected. Gavin Lux, we'll see. Bellinger, of course, not. So even if Tatis is back, who knows what the first game looks like? We could do a whole nother show on whether or not Tatis should be playing in this series, but I'm with you. I like the Dodgers. The total was the other one that I was looking at, that 8 number. I was actually hoping for a bigger number because I like the under in this one. 8 is pretty low. 8 scares me with an offense like the Dodgers, but just a bit of background. I did some research on this. The Padres have the number 1 ERA in baseball this year. Dodgers are 6th. If you add up the two ERAs, you're looking at about 5 runs per game. If you add up the two offenses, you're looking at about 10 runs per game. So it's kind of like which of those swings one way or the other. Both teams have gone under about 2/3 of the time this year. The under in San Diego is 6-1 this year. So I'm with you. I like the Dodger money line, and I think I like the under. The 8 again. I was hoping for 8.5, maybe even 9. Give me some hype on the Dodgers. Padres. Tatis is back, but 8 is on the low end, but it's still an interesting number to me. Let's go into Friday. Looking past Friday, or I should say, well, are there other lines? You talked about team totals, first 5 innings, that kind of stuff. There are other ways that you can bet on this game on Friday. Are there any of those numbers that jump out at you as you look? We don't have them to put on the screen, but are any of those numbers interesting to you?
Yeah, so I saw the Dodgers team total is listed at 4.5. Juice is a little more expensive on the under, and the Padres team total is 3.5, and Juice is a little more expensive on the under there as well. I think those lines are priced just about right. So I'm probably not. I'm probably going to stay away from the team totals. But there's certainly it's certainly interesting to see both unders being more expensive, meaning you're probably going to be more likely to win with that under bet, which is why it's going to cost you a little bit more to play it. The first 5 innings I saw was listed at 4 runs. I'm also staying away from that, but it's an interesting number. I mean, 4 runs isn't very much.
No.
So if you're taking that under, there's not a lot of room for error.
Yeah, I need to exhibit some restraint anytime I see a Dodger team total that starts with a 4. I mean, I just look at this offense and I'm like Mookie, Seager, Muncy, Turner, Smith. Like, it's hard for me to imagine them going under, but I'm with you. The bullpen game, Weathers is a new arm. Obviously the park in San Diego. So I'm with you on that. Let's look ahead to the weekend. Obviously, again, we mentioned here are the probable pitchers. We have Buehler, Weathers tonight, Kershaw, Darvish on Saturday, and then Bauer and Snell on Sunday. We don't have lines for Saturday and Sunday, but I'm curious, as we chat, whether there are matchups you like one way or the other. For me, I'll start with this Saturday, Kershaw versus Darvish. This is sort of a running joke with me. Austin Barnes, the personal catcher for Clayton Kershaw. I'm sure all of you will be shocked to know that unders are 5-1 in games in which Austin Barnes starts. We know he'll be catching, so anything normal, I'll lean there. Maybe we can get that up. That's going to be a low number, Kershaw versus Darvish. If Buehler versus Weathers is 8, I wonder if that's going to be like a 7.5 number, which does scare me a little bit. But that's one thing for me. Obviously, Kershaw as well. 6 earned runs in 2 starts against San Diego last year in the regular season. 1 in the regular season, 1 in the post. But he did have 15 strikeouts, no walks, and 12 1/3, allowing less than 1 base runner per inning. So I kind of like the under on Saturday. I think I'd have to know what the numbers are, Dodgers versus Padres, but I think under is where I'd lean on Saturday.
Yeah, and like you said, Austin Barnes being the personal catcher for Kershaw, it's always important to look at the lineups before placing your bets. Like you said last night, Mookie and Seager got the night off, so you would have been less inclined to take the over and maybe even less inclined to bet the Dodgers there. And typically with baseball lines, they don't post until the night before. And they want to wait. The books want to wait until they can make sure, key players made it through the game unscathed and there's not some big injury that's going to move the odds significantly. I look at this matchup and it's probably the most dominant pitcher of the last 10 years with arguably, one of the 3 most dominant pitchers of the last 2 years with Darvish kind of having that renaissance in Chicago. I actually like the Padres money line here as long as I can get it for plus 130 or better. And I like the Padres team total, which I think will probably be over 3.5. Darvish, first of all, Darvish is the goods. I think if not for Jacob deGrom, he's the Cy Young favorite for the NL. I know that's going to break a lot of Dodgers fans' hearts to hear, but he's been just so good. He got his walks issues under control. He has some of the filthiest stuff in baseball. And then the Padres have been crushing lefties this season. They have a 130 WRC plus so far against lefties. And most of their guys have seen Kershaw plenty of times. He's been around the league, so even guys in San Diego like Will Myers and Hosmer who've been there a few years, they've seen Kershaw even before they got to San Diego.
Yeah.
So I actually like the Padres on Saturday.
Okay. Well, it does, like, you look at the matchup, I think that's probably the matchup you're most afraid of as a Dodger fan. It has nothing to do with Kershaw. It's just how good Darvish is. So I hear you on that. Sunday, we're looking ahead. We got Bauer versus Snell. Obviously, Snell, that's the storyline, right? The World Series, everything. He pitched against the Dodgers twice in the World Series, 10 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts in 10 innings pitched for Snell against the Dodgers. Did I mention only 10 innings pitched in 2 starts? That was Blake Snell, of course. 3 earned runs in those 2 games. So he's going to want some revenge. He's going to want to go through the lineup a third time, I would imagine. On the flip side, Bauer has been really good. I know the ERA isn't pretty. He's given up some runs like right at the end of starts. He's had a couple where he's taken a no-hitter into like the 5th or 6th inning already. So that'll be an interesting matchup there. Again, I lean under on all of these matchups. We'll see what the numbers look like. If they keep coming down, I'll be a little nervous there. But Bauer versus Snell, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, you mentioned Blake Snell not getting that third time in the World Series. Interestingly enough, Snell got yanked in the first inning of his last start in Pittsburgh. Couldn't even get 3 outs against the Pirates. So, he'll be itching to go. But I look at this as a matchup of actually two recent Cy Young winners.
Yeah.
But I think they're both inconsistent and overrated pitchers. So my favorite bet of the entire weekend actually is going to be this over. I'd probably go as high as 8.5 with that over. Probably staying away at 9, but I think you could see some guys teeing off here on offense, especially if Tatis looks to be healthy. This will be likely his third game back.
Yeah.
So I think both offenses could shine on this one on Sunday. An interesting note to point out is Trevor Bauer is actually 0-4 in 4 career starts against the Padres, but he's never pitched against them at Petco Park. And these starts were, 2019, 2017, 2014.
Got it.
So he hasn't pitched that much against San Diego. So that'll be interesting to see. Again, the Padres have a lot of guys who have been with other teams before joining the team there in San Diego, though.
Yeah, and I think Machado's the one that has some absurd stat line against Bauer where he has like 4 home runs and 7 at bats or something. There was a big joke back and forth with Bauer in the spring training, playing the Padres, and Machado wasn't in the lineup. And so I don't know how friendly it is between those two guys. They're both big personalities, but they were definitely publicly sort of messing with one another there. So that'll be a fun one. Let's end going back to tonight's game. I've got some random prop bets to throw at you as you look, depending on where you're looking for these. Some places have them, some places don't. So I'll just throw a couple that I came across. The first one, right now you can get even money on anybody scoring in the first inning. Now, my thought process here is the Dodgers are averaging 0.77 runs per first inning. The Padres 0.64. Feels like some value. The Dodgers like to get off to an early start. Weathers, who knows what you get out of him. I kind of like even money on somebody scoring on the first. Your thoughts?
Yeah, at first blush, I was thinking, man, that's tough. Weathers is a reliever. He's going to be good. He's going to be really good. Buehler, we know, is an excellent pitcher. But then you look at who's hitting in the first inning of these lineups, and it's some really, all-world talents that you're going to have to get through unscathed. So I kind of like that. These props tend to have higher juice. If it was 50-50, you might be paying -120 on either side.
Yeah.
So an even number, if you can get it, that's actually a pretty good bet.
Okay, you want to talk about some big juice. My next one here, Dodgers to record a shutout +800. Now, here's my thought process here. As I mentioned, Dodger bullpen well rested. Walker Buehler on the mound. So if you can get 6 good innings from Walker Buehler and then figure I need to get 3 innings out of Victor Gonzalez, Treinen, Knebel, and Jansen. The Padres struggling, as you mentioned, coming in late last night, rough series in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying the Dodgers are going to shut out the Padres here, okay? But I'm just saying +800. I kind of feel like there's value there. If you're telling me there's a 1 in 8 chance, I think it's more than a 1 in 8 chance that the Dodgers shut out the Padres tonight.
Exactly. And that's how you have to look at it. +800 is essentially what we call implied odds of about 11%. If you think that the chances of it happening are higher than that, then you should make that bet. Even if it's only a small edge, you still have an edge in the probability there.
Right.
And 8-1 is a great payout. So while it's very unlikely you're going to keep that San Diego offense off the board, I think the odds and the payout probably make that a smart bet.
Yeah, and it's worth noting. I think the Padres are like 18th in baseball in runs scored. So I know on paper what they are. If Tatis is back, his first game back. But in reality, the offense has not performed. So there's one for you. Here's 2 more I got for you. This one I think I might like the most out of all of these. Justin Turner to record 3 total bases or more is +108 tonight. So Justin Turner, 3 total bases +108. This is a guy who, in his last 8 games, he has gotten 3 total bases. 6 of those 8 games. He had 7 last night. He had 5 the night before. Justin Turner, 3 total bases. We get a home run. The whole thing is done. We're easy. We get to relax the rest of the night. Any thoughts on Justin Turner, 3 total bases tonight?
So I don't love that one, actually. You're essentially betting for him to get 3 singles or a double and a single. That's a lot of total bases. The one thing you have working in your favor is that as the road team, the Dodgers are going to get 9 turns at bat.
Yeah.
If they were the home team, for example, they might be leading after 8.5 innings, and there's no bottom of the ninth. But with him hitting higher in the order, and with him, having as a veteran, he's going to have seen a lot of pitchers, and he's used to facing a different pitcher in each plate appearance. He's used to preparing for multiple looks. He's not going to get defensively replaced or pinch run for. So I think you have that working in your favor, but that juice isn't enough for me to want to make that bet.
See, this is why we bring you on, Rob. You point out that he's going to get nine turns through the lineup, the Dodgers, as the road team. These are the dumb things that I don't think about that you have to start thinking about if you want to sort of be good at this type of thing. Last one I'll throw at you. I have no thought process behind this other than I like one of these players and I don't like one of these other players. Will Smith, minus 105, more total bases than Manny Machado. I love Will Smith. OPS over 1,000 so far. I think the Dodgers are facing the worst pitcher, so I've got that going for me. He's the catcher, so odds are he's going to play the entire game and not get pinch hit for. Will Smith, minus 105, more total bases than Manny Machado tonight.
Here's another little factor that you'll want to consider. Yes, Machado's the home team. May not get a ninth.
He's getting the ninth inning, Rob. Dodgers are winning tonight, so we could just pencil that one in for him.
That's right. We can factor that one in. You got to look at the walk rates, right? This is a total bases bet. Will Smith has a high OPS, but he'll take a walk, whereas Machado in his career, not the most willing to take a walk. Machado's also going to hit higher in the order than Will Smith. So it's a fun bet for sure, but I can't get on board with that one.
Can't endorse that one. Okay, so there you go. There's our first preview of the season. We got the Dodgers and Padres this weekend. Rob's actually going to be back next weekend for the Dodgers and the Padres all over again. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, we're going to start doing this every week. It'll either come out on a Thursday or a Friday, depending on what the weekend series looks like. If the Dodgers have a day off, then maybe we can record it a day earlier. We'll kind of see how that kind of thing goes. But that's Rob Morse. You can find him on Twitter at @RobMorse_. There's lots of Rob Morses in the world. So he's Rob Morse _ He's new to Twitter. He created this Twitter just for this. So make sure you follow him there. And we both like the Dodger money line tonight, and we both like the under a little bit as well. So keep an eye on that. You can see if we're idiots or not by the end of the night. But again, that's Rob Morse. I'm Jeff Spiegel. We appreciate you joining us. One other announcement tonight after the game, Daniel Starkin and I will be doing a live Dodger Heads right here on the Dodger Blue 1958 YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you ring the notification bell. Dodger Blue 1958 everywhere on social media for the latest updates, lineup announcements, that type of thing. So, Rob, we appreciate you joining us. Everybody else, we appreciate you watching. As always, we'll leave with the words of Vince Scully.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.